Pensioners across several towns woke this week to alarming notices posted on cash machines, sparking confusion, long queues, and growing anxiety among older residents who rely heavily on weekly withdrawals. The warnings, which appeared on dozens of ATMs outside supermarkets, pharmacies, and local banks, cautioned customers about suspicious activity and urged them to avoid sharing card details or entering personal information if approached by strangers nearby. Although financial authorities later clarified that the messages were part of a nationwide fraud awareness campaign, many elderly users initially believed their pensions, savings, or bank accounts had already been compromised. By mid-morning on Monday, worried residents had gathered outside branches in large numbers, seeking reassurance from staff members struggling to answer repeated questions. In several neighborhoods, pensioners reportedly withdrew cash earlier than usual, fearing that access to their accounts might soon be restricted. Others contacted relatives for assistance after reading online rumors claiming that criminals were targeting retirement payments specifically. Local community centers also received a flood of calls from anxious seniors asking whether they should continue using bank cards at all. The warnings themselves were straightforward, but the timing and presentation caused considerable misunderstanding. Bright red lettering placed directly above ATM screens stated that customers should take extra care because fraudsters were attempting to steal banking information through scams, fake assistants, and hidden devices. Attached to machines, some notices included phrases such as "your account could be at risk," language that many pensioners interpreted as an immediate threat rather than general advice. Because the campaign was introduced without significant public explanation beforehand, speculation spread rapidly through neighborhoods and social media groups. For many older citizens, cash remains essential for everyday life. Despite the growth of digital banking and mobile payment systems, pensioners often prefer physical money for groceries, transport, utility bills, and local shopping. Some have limited internet access or little confidence using smartphone applications. Others simply trust traditional methods more than online systems that appear complicated and unfamiliar. As a result, any suggestion that cash machines might be unsafe can quickly generate fear, particularly among people already concerned about rising living costs and financial insecurity. 82-year-old Margaret Ellis described feeling terrified after seeing the warning outside her local supermarket ATM early Monday morning. She initially assumed criminals had stolen customer information from the machine and worried her pension payment might disappear before she reached the counter. "I have worked all my life, and I cannot afford to lose what little I have," she explained while waiting in line at a nearby bank branch. Similar concerns were echoed by dozens of elderly residents interviewed throughout the day. Bank employees attempted to calm fears by explaining that the warnings were preventive measures designed to educate customers about increasing fraud attempts nationwide. According to banking associations, criminals have recently targeted vulnerable individuals through telephone scams, fake text messages, and distraction techniques. Near ATMs, fraudsters sometimes pose as helpful strangers, offering assistance while secretly observing personal identification numbers or swapping cards. In other cases, small devices are attached to machines to capture card information. Authorities said the campaign was intended to reduce these crimes before they became more widespread. However, critics argue that the rollout lacked sensitivity toward older users. Consumer advocacy groups noted that many pensioners already feel excluded by rapid changes in banking services, including branch closures, reduced staffing, and pressure to use digital platforms, introducing strongly worded warnings without clear context. Only intensified existing mistrust. Some campaign posters failed to mention that the notices were educational rather than emergency alerts, while others displayed hotline numbers without explaining why customers might need them. Advocacy organizations now want banks to consult older communities before launching future awareness campaigns. Family members also reported difficulties reassuring elderly relatives after sensationalized stories began circulating online. Several misleading posts falsely claimed that hackers had accessed government pension databases or that banks planned to freeze accounts temporarily while investigating fraud. Although these rumors were quickly denied by officials, they spread rapidly through messaging applications and neighborhood forums. Younger relatives described spending hours helping parents and grandparents check balances, contact customer service representatives, and distinguish reliable information from speculation. The emotional impact extended beyond financial worries. Community volunteers observed increased stress among isolated seniors who already struggle with loneliness and uncertainty. Some pensioners reportedly avoided shopping trips entirely because they feared using cash machines in public places. Others withdrew large amounts of money to keep at home, believing this would protect them from fraud. Security experts warned that storing significant cash indoors could expose vulnerable residents to theft or coercion, creating additional risks instead of reducing them. Police departments and financial regulators have since intensified public messaging efforts to clarify the situation. Officials emphasized that the ATM notices do not indicate a coordinated attack on pension accounts and that most banking systems remain secure when used carefully. Customers were advised to shield keypad entries, ignore unsolicited assistance from strangers, and report unusual machine attachments immediately. Authorities also reminded residents that legitimate banks never request passwords or personal identification numbers through telephone calls, emails, or text messages. In response to the confusion, several banks extended customer service hours this week and assigned extra staff to assist elderly visitors. Some branches organized short educational sessions explaining common fraud tactics and demonstrating safer ATM practices. Community organizations praised these efforts but argued they should have accompanied the campaign from the beginning rather than appearing after panic had already spread. Experts in public communications stressed that messages aimed at older populations must balance urgency with reassurance to avoid unnecessary alarm. Economists noted that the incident highlights a broader challenge facing aging societies as financial services become increasingly digital. Many governments encourage electronic transactions because they reduce operational costs and improve efficiency, yet millions of older adults remain dependent on cash. Rapid technological change can create confusion and vulnerability when support systems are inadequate. Specialists in aging policy argue that maintaining accessible, trustworthy banking options for pensioners is not simply a convenience but an important social responsibility. Cybersecurity analysts say fraud targeting older people has increased steadily in recent years because scammers often perceive pensioners as more trusting and less familiar with evolving technology. Criminals exploit fear, urgency, and confusion to pressure victims into revealing sensitive information. Awareness campaigns are therefore considered necessary, but experts caution that communication strategies must be carefully designed. Overly dramatic warnings can unintentionally produce the same emotional vulnerability that scammers seek to exploit. Government representatives acknowledged public concern during a press conference on Tuesday afternoon. Officials promised to review the wording and design of future ATM notices while continuing efforts to combat financial crime. They also encouraged families, charities, and local councils to support elderly residents who may feel overwhelmed. By changing banking practices, ministers emphasized that pension payments remain secure and urged citizens not to rely on unverified social media claims. Despite official reassurances, some pensioners remain uneasy. Longtime customers interviewed outside several banks said they still worry about hidden devices or strangers watching them during transactions. Others complained that repeated warnings from banks, police, and media organizations make ordinary activities feel increasingly dangerous. Everywhere you look, there is another alert telling us to be careful, one retiree remarked. After a while, you start thinking nowhere is safe anymore. Nevertheless, many community leaders believe the episode may ultimately encourage more constructive conversations about digital literacy and financial protection for older adults. Libraries, charities, and volunteer groups have already announced plans for workshops teaching pensioners how to recognize scams, use online banking safely, and seek trustworthy assistance when uncertain. Some younger residents have also begun offering informal help to elderly neighbors struggling with technology or confusing financial information. As the immediate panic gradually subsides, the controversy surrounding the ATM warnings serves as a reminder that public safety campaigns can have unintended consequences when communication is unclear. Protecting vulnerable citizens from fraud is undeniably important, especially as scams grow more sophisticated and widespread. Yet, the experience of many pensioners this week demonstrates that messages intended to provide reassurance can instead create fear if they are poorly explained or introduced without adequate preparation. Banks and authorities now face the challenge of rebuilding confidence while continuing to warn customers about genuine financial risks. In an increasingly complex world, researchers studying financial behavior among older adults say trust plays a crucial role in how pensioners respond to warnings about banking security. Many seniors developed lifelong habits during periods when local bank managers knew customers personally and cash transactions dominated everyday commerce. Modern banking systems, by contrast, often depend on automated services, telephone menus, and smartphone applications that can appear distant or impersonal. When unexpected alerts suddenly appear on ATM screens, some elderly customers interpret them through the lens of declining personal contact and growing uncertainty about technology. Social workers have also pointed out that pensioners are frequently exposed to conflicting advice. Banks encourage customers to stay alert for scams, family members recommend stronger passwords and online monitoring, while media reports regularly describe sophisticated criminal schemes targeting retirees. Although each warning may be well-intentioned individually, the cumulative effect can create exhaustion and distrust. Experts warn that constant anxiety may discourage older adults from managing finances independently, increasing dependence on relatives or caregivers even when pensioners remain fully capable of handling their own affairs. Several charities are now urging financial institutions to involve pensioners directly when designing future public awareness campaigns. Focus groups with older residents could help banks understand how certain phrases, colors, or layouts might be interpreted during stressful situations. Clearer language, larger explanatory text, and advance announcements through television, radio, and community centers may prevent similar misunderstandings. Advocates believe collaborative planning would not only reduce panic but also strengthen confidence between banks and the older customers who continue relying on traditional financial services every single day. Financial counselors additionally recommend that pensioners discuss basic fraud prevention strategies with trusted relatives, neighbors, or community workers before emergencies arise. Simple preparation, including keeping official bank numbers nearby and understanding common scam tactics, can reduce fear during unexpected situations. Experts say confidence and accurate information remain the strongest defenses against confusion, panic, and financial exploitation.